So we have hopefully found that the science of meditation is very deep. It needs a lot of time and a lot of experience to absorb it. And of course, if you practicing the path of the bodhisattvas, the practice becomes endless. Now, if we proceed in this learning quickly, it means we have got the conditions and causes from previous lives. If we proceed slowly, it means these causes and conditions are not very clear. But there is only one way to make them clear, and it is just do it. All those who have succeeded in meditation, they have been doing it continually and with devotion. I have explained before. Satatam sakrityam, wu jian yin zhong. Now, because of our ignorance, we are not able to practice continually and with devotion. Therefore, we still have many problems. But if we practice the bodhisattva path, exactly these problems are in a way blessings, because we learn from the problems. And we learn not only from our own problems, we learn from the problems of all sentient beings. When we have this frame of mind, the meditation becomes really more and more fascinating. Because our problems are the same problems as those of sentient beings. We all live in the same mind. And because we all live from the same, in the same mind, we can help each other when we understand this mind. And as we have seen in the northern tradition of Buddhism, actually everything starts with the mind and everything ends with the mind. When we understand the mind, we understand everything. When we delude it about the mind, we delude it about everything. And this is wisdom. And the northern tradition, based on the sutras of transcendental wisdom, says just that. This wisdom is the mother of all Buddhas, of all Bodhisattvas, and indirectly of all the sentient beings. So, in order to meditate effectively, we have to go deep into the mind. This is what is meditation about. And we have to learn to understand all aspects of our experience from the perspective of the mind. Because our mind deludes us, we are in samsara. When our minds does not delude us, we are in nirvana. And if we practice the non-dual approach of Northern Buddhism, then we actually do not distinguish between the two. And how do we do not distinguish between the two? By understanding all experience as based in mind. Our body is based in mind. What our body experiences is based in mind. Our mind is based in mind. Our path is based in mind. The Arahat is based in mind. The Buddha for themselves are based in mind. The supreme incomparable enlightenment of the Buddhas, of the perfect Buddhas, is also based in mind. The mind decides how we are born. The mind decides how we die. The mind decides what we experience in between. So this is the emphasis of the Northern tradition of meditation, which we want to understand. In a way, all significant schools of Chinese Buddhism, they are based on this principle. And when we interested in the Tibetan Tantric tradition, it is also based on this principle, no other principle. So by contemplating this principle, we are getting deeper and deeper into our meditation. And the key for that is our mastery of Shamatha. So the Shamatha is of crucial importance. It opens all the mysteries of the mind. Without the Shamatha, the mysteries of the mind, however much we learn, will remain closed. So first we have to learn to use the mind correctly. And using the mind correctly is explained in the Northern tradition by learning a spontaneous attention. Ren yin zuo yi. This is of crucial importance. The realized persons, the realized bodhisattvas, the Buddha, they remain in what kind of conditioning? In the conditioning based on spontaneous attention. So this is why the process of learning meditation in the Northern tradition is explained by mastering the spontaneous attention rather than by mastering the dhyanas, as it is done in the Abhidharma tradition. We have explained before In the Abhidharma tradition, the 8 Samapatis, Tengzhi, they are explained as the practice of Shamatha. And because in the literature they are described as something, so to say, almost beyond our experience. It is described as something where one does not hear any sounds. So people, even in Theravada countries, not to speak about the northern Buddhism, they are very deluded about these states of mind. They think that if you practice them, you become like crazy. The Buddha himself, it is mentioned in the Agamas, when he meditated in the big storm, a tree fell at his feet, but he even did not hear it. The teacher of Buddha, Ramaputta, he meditated by the side of the road and 500 bullock carts passed by, but he did not even notice. This is how the people practiced in the old times. Actually, when Buddha was persuaded to teach what he has realized, he first thought of his teachers who had taught him the perfect mastery of Shamatha. And he found that they were dead. So then he remembered the 5 disciples who trained under him. And he knew they have good hold of samatha, so he could teach them so that all of them become the arahats. So the shamatha is really a key to the mysteries of our mind. We read in the scriptures that Buddha has taught these yogis the path, like the 500 yogis at the Gaya Shirsha. All of them became arahats. Why? Because they have mastered shamatha. They hear the Buddha's speech in samadhi. So whatever the Buddha says, they penetrate through samadhi. So their mind, so to say, is completely open, because it has not any tendency to excitement, no any tendency to thinking, and it has perfect clarity and relaxation. When we attain this state, whatever we want to do with the mind, we will be successful. If we don't have this state, whatever we do with the mind, our own tendencies will keep on deceiving us. And we are all programmed, whether we like it or not, by our latent tendencies. These latent tendencies, they are, in the northern tradition, they are called the seeds of our thoughts. And we are all under control of the seeds of our thoughts. These seeds of our thoughts, they rule over our attention. All of us pay attention to different things because we have different seeds in our mind. We may see the same street, but we will all notice different things because we have different seeds in the mind. Maybe I can illustrate by telling you a nice story. There is in the commentary to Dhammapada. The commentary to Dhammapada has many, many nice stories. There is a very nice story about Buddha giving teaching to 3 laymen, or 4 laymen. One of them is sitting completely centered in his mind, does not move. The other is always, they are sitting under the tree, is always playing with the branches and holding one branch, then another branch. The other one is using his hand to play with the earth, holding the earth in his hand and playing with it. And the other one is digging deeply into the earth. So when the Buddha has finished his talk, so these 3 laymen have left. Then Ananda is asking, now during your discourse, one of these laymen he was listening in samadhi. He did not move during the whole of your discourse. The other 3, they always fidgeting here and there, very restless. What is the reason? What are the causes and conditions of that? And the Buddha answers, Ananda, the one who listened in samadhi, he got his realization. He is a Shotapana. He has entered the stream. So he is sure to get liberation at some stage or another. Maybe even in this life. The other one who was playing with the branches, he has been a monkey in innumerable previous lives. So this habit is very, very powerful in his mind. And this habit prevents him to concentrate his mind. So he did not get much from my discourse. The other one who was playing with the earth, he was an earthworm in his previous life. So it's very difficult for him to get rid of these habits. And the other one who was digging with his hand the earth, he was a pig. It's very difficult for him to get rid of this old habit. But still, it is not completely wasted. They may remember something at some time or another. So this is to illustrate how we are controlled by our habits. So we should watch over our habits and learn from our habits. When do we have the pig habits? When do we have the hungry ghost habits? When do we have the beings in the hell, the habits? When do we have the earthworm habits? And when do we have the divine beings habits? And when we are attuned to the mysteries of the mind? This is how we should learn meditation. If we learn in this way, we will get a very, very deep insight into the non-dual approach to meditation. All is in the mind. All that we do is expression of our previous experiences, our previous habits. The difference between a yogi and a non-yogi is that a yogi becomes more and more aware of these habits because of his practice of mindfulness. So this is, yesterday we have explained the intimate connection between the mindfulness and the wisdom. The wisdom is awareness, vigilance. Due to awareness, vigilance, then another symbol of wisdom beside the lamp is a sword. Manjushri holding the sword in his hand. And with his sword he cuts through all defilements. Now, Abhidharma Kosha compares the mindfulness to the handle of the sword. If the sword doesn't have a handle, then we cannot use it. We cannot hold it firmly. So the job of illumining the mind and the object, and the job of cutting off the defilements will not happen. So the mind will be inside of defilements, but it even does not notice it is in defilements. like we are in the camp of the enemy, but we even don't know who our enemy is. So most of us unfortunately live in this way. We are in the camp of the enemies, but we even don't know who our enemy is. When the sword has the handle, then we can hold it like Manjushri above us. This Manjushri sword is producing light and fire. This is the wisdom which cuts off the defilements. And when we hold this sword of wisdom, then eventually we can understand the philosophy of Northern Buddhism based on the sutras of transcendental wisdom. That from the very beginning, everything is in the state of purity. Everything is in the state of nirvana. It is our own old habits, which are as old as samsara, which are endless, which prevent us from seeing this. So the first step in learning meditation is to get the deep experience of purity of mind, and this is a job of shamatha. This experience of pure mind then transforms our being. Because we don't have this experience deep enough, therefore we are always identifying with our habits, with our seeds. And they form our identity. And we are quite certain that this is what we really are. And this is what the others are as well. We know a person or an animal or any being according to his habits. That's all what we can say about a person. He is a such and such person because he has such and such habits. So now, with this understanding, we come back to, because of the lack of time, we come back to our 9 stages which lead us to the state of spontaneous attention. Now, spontaneous attention, when you become a Buddha, becomes no attention. But first, we have to train in spontaneous attention to understand something, a little bit of no attention. What is in no attention? The no attention means no seeds, no habits which control the mind. Now, when we understand these habits, we become very familiar with spontaneous attention. When we don't understand these habits, it means we are not familiar with spontaneous attention. In order to change something, we have to penetrate it as it is. If we don't penetrate it as it is, we will never change. This is the rule of yoga, no matter whether we use the Buddhist understanding or any other understanding. We can only change things by penetrating them thoroughly. So the Buddha has started teaching the Buddhist doctrine by the penetration of the truth of suffering. This is the base of the Buddhist doctrine. This is how the Buddhist doctrine actually is different from other doctrines. We have to penetrate the truth of suffering. When we penetrate the truth of suffering, we penetrate the causes of suffering. When we penetrate the causes of suffering, we can remove the causes of suffering. And when we remove the causes of suffering, there is no more suffering. No more suffering does not mean that our body does not give us a trouble. The body is the trouble from the very beginning. But when we have understood the Buddha's teachings, then we have penetrated the trouble. And when we penetrate the trouble by wisdom, the trouble is no more trouble. And this is freedom. And this freedom can be only attained through meditation. And to start a genuine meditation, we have to let the power of mindfulness crystallize in our mind. And this, we have explained, is the third stage of dwelling in Shamatha. Third stage of inner dwelling, which is called the establishing the mind down. Xiaju. When we establish the mind down at the meditation object, then we will notice whenever it leaves the meditation object, and we will notice it not by forcefully bringing it back to the meditation object, but by using mindfulness. This is where real progress in meditation starts. So the real progress in meditation starts at the third stage. Because rather than using a forceful attention, we use attention controlled by mindfulness. So we have explained this is to be noticed in daily life. It's not just meditation is the method of improving and mastering our daily life. Nothing else. So most of us, because we don't have the tradition of meditation, we divide between daily life and meditation. We think meditation is something very different from daily life. Because we don't have the proper training in meditation. When I was in the forest tradition, there came some yogis who wanted to learn meditation from Europe or from America. And they left the forest because some aeroplane flew over the forest and they were disturbed. They thought, they read the books that when you meditate you don't hear any sound. A complete misunderstanding of what meditation is. So they hear some sound and they become very frustrated and they search for a place where there is no sound. But such a place you won't probably find on this earth. Maybe in Tibet, in some above 5,000 meters high. But even there, these people will surely find something disturbing. Rather than finding out that what disturbs us is our own mind. Our mind is the great master of disturbance. So we have to watch the mind. Only then we will get some deep insight about what meditation is. Our mind has mastered disturbance in many, many lives. And when you progress in meditation, as long as we don't try hard, the disturbance will not give us much trouble. But when we try hard, this army of Mara is ready to attack. Then if we search for disturbance outside, we have no weapons to counter this great, great army which we have gathered in many, many lives. So we have to train hard to remain even in daily life in this third stage of Shamatha. To notice that when we do things with mindfulness, they are different. When we do things without mindfulness, they are also different. See inside of you, see, you don't need the supernatural powers necessarily. You don't need to learn the reading the minds of others. Just watch their speech, watch how they move their bodies. And you can easily guess the states of their mind. Are they using mindfulness or not? Are they attached to the object of their attention, or are they not attached? Are they attached to the object of attention which is causing them pleasure, or is their mind attending an object which gives them displeasure? How they react? If you work in this way, then the eye of wisdom will open. When the eye of wisdom has opened, then the mindfulness becomes natural. We will find out that the state of mind without mindfulness is a very dangerous state. So we can experience it for shorter periods of time in shamatha, but we should experience it for longer periods of time in daily life. When the mindfulness has ripened, what will happen? We will go into the fourth stage. And from this fourth stage, we have a way opened to going to all the other higher stages. If we don't remain in the fourth stage, these higher stages will never be established in our mind. And this fourth stage is called upastapayati, chinju. Upa has in Sanskrit, this prefix has many meanings. Here the meaning is near. We never leave the vicinity of the object. So it means we may have all kinds of thoughts, but we don't lose the blue color or the breath you are meditating on. We may have all kinds of sensations, pleasant or unpleasant, but we do not leave our meditation object. We may have all kinds of experiences, pleasant or unpleasant, but we do not leave the meditation object. If you have attained this state, you know you have attained this fourth stage of samatha. And when this fourth stage of samatha is there, then this mindfulness becomes kind of a natural power. When it becomes a natural power, it becomes a part of us. We don't have to fight for it. So, in this stage, the meditator can really kind of feel relaxed. He does not need to force himself too much. Of course, he has to use effort, but he uses effort based on mindfulness, not the effort based on his arbitrary decision how the thing should be. So this will make the whole world of difference. So with this understanding, we round our 2 days lecture and do a little bit of concentrating the mind so that we can learn slowly to make it a habit. 愿此功德普及一切我等一众生，皆共成佛道。May the merits we have gained spread to all beings, so that myself and them together attain the Buddhahood. Thank you.